Welcome back to Uncinch, where we uncinch what's really going on in the horse world. This is one of our Barn Talk episodes where we roll up our sleeves and dig into practical, everyday topics for horse people. Today, we're going to talk about fitness, yours and your horses, and why it matters.
And when we talk about fitness, this isn't about having the fittest, sexiest, hottest body around or having a horse that can compete at a Grand Prix level. This is about keeping both halves of the partnership whole, healthy, and happy so you can do the things you love and enjoy together for a long time.
We'll be sharing about the importance of routines and not in the way you think, how weather should influence our workouts, and even some thoughts on some self-love and acceptance of both our horses and our bodies that we have right now. But before we go too far in, we want to acknowledge one of our sponsors and the official photographer of Uncinched, Grab Main Photography.
If you know the feel of reins in your hands and the quiet bond between horse and rider, then you know some moments can't be put into words. That's where Grab Main Photography comes in. Specializing in equine and Western lifestyle photography, Grab Main captures the spirit of the horse, the heart of the rider, and the beauty of the life lived close to land. From barnyard candids to golden hour rides, every frame tells a story, one of connection and authenticity.
And right now, podcast listeners get 25% off their first session. Whether it's you and your horse, your family photos on the ranch, or just a happy, fun photo shoot idea, Grab Main has got you covered. Just visit the Grab Main Photography website in the link through our show notes and mention the code UNCINCHED2025 when you reach out.
All right, buckle up, cinch up, let's get into this. Why does fitness matter? Horses, like us, need both mental stimulation and physical conditioning. Without it, they get bored, stiff, and sometimes cranky. Physical conditioning and fitness goes hand in hand with mental well-being. And when one is lacking, it affects the other fairly significantly. And that's why we kind of decided to create today's episode.
And we're not just going to focus on the horse's fitness, but we're also going to talk about the role us as riders play. I know it can be glorified that we don't take care of ourselves properly at shows or rodeos, and we don't maintain our own well-being. So we both think this is an important topic of discussion, and we're going to get into it and kind of talk about our bad habits. Maintaining our mental health and our physical health coincide and help us stay whole as riders and help us in the long run with our horse. Basically, what we're trying to say is that it's about partnership. And I think this is a fairly common theme throughout our episodes. We often say how it is a partnership. One partner being sore, unbalanced, or out of shape will affect the other. This isn't necessarily something that we should see always as a negative, because there are positive outcomes that can be created. And we can use what these changes are to our advantage. And that can lead us to growth for both the horse and ourselves.
So let's talk about building good routines with our horses. There are many different ways that we can maintain fitness, both mental and physical. And it often starts with consistency.
What a good word.
Oh, yes. And consistency is friggin' hard. We sit here on the microphone and we're like, yes, consistency. Yes, pixie dust and magic. It's easy. But being consistent is hard for everybody in your own way.
Yep.
So creating and maintaining some resemblance of a routine can be difficult because, life gets busy. Things happen. Relatives come over from Bangladesh and you gotta entertain them.
Bangladesh? Do you have family in Bangladesh?
Maybe. But consistency through our actions and our behavior is really where magic happens. And we talk about routines, but what does a good routine even look like? What does a realistic routine look like? And how can we manage both the relatives from Bangladesh and also the dealing of our horses? Well, magic. Pixie dust. Let's start with the horses. Good routines don't mean the same thing, the same time, every day. It means creating habits and cues that are consistent and allow for variety. If you have a performance horse who you only do lessons and training with in the same environments without any variation in the work, it can kind of cause your horse to check out and simply just go through the motions. We kind of hear the term sometimes, a horse who's shut down or a horse who's robotic. And this is kind of what I think about when we talk about a horse who's going through the motions. And this can affect their mental and physical fitness as they are never using different muscle groups or having their mind stimulated. By creating variety, like going to the mountains for a ride or doing pole work or just changing up the pace of a lesson or even a rest day together, just while enjoying each other's company, can avoid burnout. Because when they are burnt out, and we talked about this many episodes ago, I don't remember what episode, it's been a minute. But when horses are burnt out, this can result in undesired behaviors and higher risk of injury and souring. I think people underestimate how much rest and mental recovery and variation is such an important part of training. And being consistent and regimented in a variety of ways is so, so important.
Yeah, it's what creates a well-rounded and not proof, but able to handle situations, So exactly is what I'm trying to say. And the other thing that's really key is going to their pace. Because you know what? Sometimes we really want them to progress faster than they can. And we have to really recognize when those stop motions are there, when it's like, this is as far as I can go at this moment. And that doesn't mean you failed or the horse has failed and that it's never going to get there. It just means that it's going to be slower. And that's A-okay. It's not a problem. Whether it's coming back from an injury, building muscle, or even learning something new, like a new skill or a new way to kind of move their body, horses don't really progress on our timeline. And I think anybody who's worked with horses long enough has realized that. Where we're like, we want this to happen now. And it's almost like they have it in their brain that they heard that and they're like, so actually, now I'm not going to do it. Because they do. They progress on their timeline, just like we progress on our own timeline. And I like to think about math when I say that. Some people are really fast at picking it up, and especially about mental math. They can just do it like this. I am not one of those people.
Same.
I'm great at math, but I need a piece of paper to write it out because that's the way I learn. And sometimes that's the way horses are. They need a different way to be taught. They need a different way that things go. They may not be doing mental math, but they are changing gaits. They are changing paces, and they're doing math in that regard. So sometimes it takes longer, and sometimes you have to try new ways that you didn't think you would have to do.
Mm-hmm. And like a little bit back to the consistent schedule. While life is crazy and life is busy, if there is something that you need to work on with your horse, putting your horse on the back burner isn't going to necessarily fix the problem.
Nope.
So having, whether you can commit to 3 realistic days, having a plan for those 3 realistic days where you're working on specific things and a variation of focuses is really the key to seeing success in a shorter amount of time.
Yep.
Being consistent and working on all of your different things and not just doing it once in a blue moon and then letting your horse out for 30 days to 10 weeks, 2 years. Some people do that. Your problems don't magically go away because you turn your horse out. You have
if anything, they're exacerbated.
Yeah, you've got to put in the work, and that happens with consistency and having a bit of a plan when you do stuff. And that's self-accountability that we have to kind of take on as riders. And that routine is going to look different
for everyone,
for every person based on the lifestyle and what you have. And if you do have a busy life going on, really, really important to not expect a lot of progress in a short amount of time.
It reminds me of, I think many of us have heard this. You can only choose 2: cheap, fast, and good quality. So if you want good quality, it ain't going to be cheap.
If it happens fast.
If it happens fast. If you want good quality and you're willing to wait, it'll be cheaper. Like there's always going to be a give and take. And it's the same thing when it comes to your horse, you know. Same thing. Cheap, quality, fast. If you want it to progress fast, you got to put in more work and potentially put in more money. And then if you want it to be good quality but fast, then you definitely have to put in the time and the money.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of think of it that way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's those three things, and if you want your horse's consistency to change based on those three things, see what you're going to have to give and take, because you can't take all three.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about something that's arguably just as important and low-key controversial, and that's routines for us as riders outside of the saddle and away from the barn.
Yeah. You know, routines root us, like routine, right? It roots us into what we're doing, and it doesn't mean it has to be the same like we said with horses. It can be just, you know, changing of environments. But if we only ever work all the time, we'll burn out. If we only ever play, we'll run out of money. You know, like it's those things for us as well. And that comes down to also how we regulate ourselves with our horses.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about a little things that we think, and I mean, again, this is stuff that we think. Do we necessarily do all these things? I don't know. I'm reading some of these stuff and I'm like,
I could get better at it.
I could get better at it.
And that's what we're saying here. We're not saying that you suck if you don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is like these are options to help you. And it's not that we do every one of them, and it's not that we don't do every one of them. It's just these are giving you tools that can add into your toolbox. And you don't have to be perfect at it. Nobody's perfect at it. Dude, I have so many routines that I create, and then I miss one, and I'm just absolutely fucked for the rest of the week. You can ask my partner. He will tell you all about how I'll come crying. And I'm like, I missed this one thing, and I'm a failure. And it's something I need to get better at, being a little away from a routine. But these are just tools.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So one thing that I find is really interesting, and not everyone has the opportunity to ride a lot of horses,
Mm-hmm.
but if you ever do have the opportunity to ride a lot of horses, I would challenge you to like ride 5 or 6 horses in the same day and notice what
Jesus.
the common thing, or 3 horses, 2 horses, ride a couple horses, whatever's realistic for you, okay? But when you ride a bunch of horses, I will often see a common issue. And what's the common denominator there?
You.
It's me. It's me.
Yeah, it's
And
Taya.
I think we're really quick sometimes. Like, let's say I'm riding Pickles, my barrel horse. I need to get a horse named Pickles now.
What's with all the P's? Patrick, Pete, Pickles? Like, you're just a pea queen?
Yeah, maybe. I didn't even notice. I see a lot of people who will, and like, yes, taking care of your horse is important, but they'll say that their horse is a lead issue. Just, for example, what's coming off the top of my head. And 9 times, well, not 9 times out of 10, but a lot of the times, the horse doesn't necessarily have a, like, physical imbalance. Sometimes it does have a physical imbalance, but oftentimes it's because, I mean, your hips could be crooked, your shoulders could be crooked as a rider, or you have something going on, and I think that often gets overlooked. We're all about take care of the horse, do the body work, see the vet.
What the horse is doing wrong.
Yeah, what is the horse doing wrong? He's not picking up his lead, and we don't really look in the mirror a lot of the times. So I think it's really important to like come to terms and like look at yourself with no malice, no judgment, and just like write it out black. Yeah, look at yourself objectively and like look in the mirror and decide what to do and how to improve from that out of the saddle and have that kind of be in your life routine. And so a lot of athletes do it, but we want to talk a little bit about cross training. And there's a lot of stigma out there because everyone thinks that you have to be like a size 0 and be the thinnest,
or
lightest
the
thing,
buffest,
or be absolutely swole in order to ride a horse well. But it's not about having a certain body type or a body shape, but it's about being in a physical state that allows you to ride most efficiently and to get out of the way of the horse. It's really, it is.
Get out the way!
Get
It's
out the
running!
And
I feel that.
when you kind of notice that there's parts of you that are getting in your horse's way or causing lead issues, or you're finding that you're fatiguing quickly or you're getting sore in certain spots, if you're really serious about riding, using cross training as a way to train and help yourself out of the saddle, or training yourself out of the saddle to help yourself in the saddle, is often a really great way to work on your mental health, but also improve your riding at the same time and give you another kind of sense of structure and routine.
When you think about any of these really big athletes, let's say, I'm going to use the example of Haley Wickenheiser because she is an icon, especially for Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
But she is a hockey player, but she didn't solely do hockey. And I think we've gotten into this tunnel vision, especially with young kids, where it's like you have to play only hockey. You are doing it 4 to 5 times a week, so you have no time to do any other sport or any other thing, and that's the only thing you do. When we get into that routine of just only solely doing one thing, let's say with horse riding or hockey or whatever it is, what ends up happening is you overuse muscles and you underuse others. Because let's say with that hockey, for example, you're only going to be using the muscles you use for hockey. And that can lead to injuries because you're overextending yourselves, you're using them too much, or you're underutilizing other muscles that can help stabilize it.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing goes for when we're riding. And I'm going to go back to Haley Wickenheiser. She's a phenomenal hockey player, absolutely. But she also did other sports. She, I believe, also went to the Olympics for baseball or softball, one of the two. And it goes to show that she was cross-training that whole time, which made her a better ball player, and it also made her a better hockey player and a better soundness and fitness to her. And that same goes for us. If we're riding under the saddle, that's great. What are we doing outside of the saddle to help that? Because we're only going to use certain muscles. We're only going to progress with certain ways. And if we then go and do weight training, to build strength in, our shoulders, that can actually alleviate pressure on our hips. Or we do planking and do a bunch of exercises in Pilates to build our core. That's going to significantly help our seat. These are all avenues that we can take that are so far out of riding and have nothing to do with riding and have a total different mental page that can also give us a totally different physical advantage. And same with meditation. Sometimes we're just so focused when we're riding, we aren't enjoying ourselves, or we're not doing things that we're focusing so much on other things that we're not finding that calm and that relaxation, which is building our horse up too, because they're feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we learn how to do some meditation work and breath work. And now we're like, wow, we have more mental clarity to be present in this moment. And now our riding has changed significantly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
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 Yes. Yes. Check.
And it's kind of, I find it's a little bit exciting when you notice something about yourself that is maybe you struggle with your balance. Maybe you can't hold your posture. You can't sit up in the canter. You can't hold a 2-point. Then it puts some purpose into your cross-training activity. Or let's say you have a lot of tension in your body and your horses move tight because of it. Well, doing something like yoga while you're still building strength, but it's about, peace, inner peace.
and letting those muscles relax.
Yeah, and activating them in a spot where you're not in the saddle, because for a lot of people, riding can be nerve-wracking and anxiety-inducing because
it's a big animal.
Right?
When they're moving.
So doing stuff that can kind of build your confidence and build your strength is super awesome to help with your riding, right? We kind of, Britton touched on it a little bit, but the next thing that we feel should be a big part of your horse rider routine is doing stuff that supports your mental health and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this looks different for everybody. Like some people thrive in chaos. Some people need to go in like the middle of nowhere on a
And
lake
scream.
and scream. And making sure that you prioritize your mental health in your routine regularly is so important as a rider. I kind of think of like the analogy of like having a beehive in your brain when you just have like, I gotta go to Pilates class at 6 and then at 6:30 I gotta, you
Don't
know,
call me out like this.
but like you get all wound up about all
Yep.
the crap that you have to do, and then you go to the barn and you so many people are just walking beehive heads, and some horses tolerate it, other horses
Don't.
not so much. And so it's really important that you're kind of regularly practicing things that help eliminate that beehive and calm it
And being
down.
more present.
Yeah, and be more present in the moment. And so some people, they gotta talk it out. Some people have to write it out. Journaling helps a lot of people organize their
Mm-hmm.
thoughts.
Meditation.
Yeah, meditation.
The biggest
Exactly.
thing I want to say, like, mental wellness isn't just about, like, oh, I did a spa day. Woo. Those are nice.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not, it is a form of self care, but that is not self care, if that makes sense. Self care that is going to help you, doesn't matter who you are, is proper rest.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not getting enough sleep, you're not taking care of that. Your body can't physically heal itself. Sleep is so integral to your body being able to relax, your nervous system being able to relax, your muscles to remove lactic acid. Calcium gets kind of rebuilt at sleeping. It was something I always was told. When I was younger, I had something called jumper's knee, where the calcium was constantly rubbed off because it just grew faster than, like, my bones grew faster than my muscles, essentially, is the best way to put it. So I would get really bad pains, especially in, like, my knee joints. And they said you have to be sleeping a minimum of 5 hours because that's the body can repair itself during that time. So, if you're not sleeping 5 hours and you're wondering why you're sore and you're, like, in a haze, that might be why too. So proper rest is so important for mental well-being. Journaling, if that works for you, or talking it out, for sure. But those little things of just regular day-to-day life that has nothing to do with, like, anything fancy are also really important, which I think drives us back into nutrition and hydration. Let's be real, there is a glorification of not taking care of yourself, especially at events, at rodeos, where you're away from home, of kind of like, oh, all I had was an energy drink and some pepperoni sticks. Like, how crazy, and it's usually this glorification of it, where it's like, look how unhealthy I was. We need to stop that shit. Like, straight up, as an industry, stop it.
We're canceling pepperoni sticks and energy drinks. Announcement.
But
I love pepperoni sticks.
You can have your pepperoni sticks, but you have to have cheese and carbs and other things.
Okay.
You have to have a meal,
Yeah.
And I think we see that in a lot of service-based industries too. If you're servers, this glorification of, from bosses too. You don't get a break, and you're weak if you do have one, and you're weak if you eat. What the hell is that?
Who came up with this propaganda?
Literally, because
it's the system. It's the system.
The patriarchy.
It's the patriarchy, and they're giving us energy drinks so that we work, but then we die, and then we have to go to the hospital, and then we have to pay the money. Conspiracy theories handwritten.
But it's true, if we aren't giving ourselves, fueling our bodies, we can't fuel our ride. If our bodies are weak and aren't getting enough nutrition, what ends up happening is we are storing energy in our bodies that it says, I can't possibly give this to you, because what if we need it? You're more likely to gain weight. It's a fact that if you're not eating enough calories, it hoards it. So that way, if you don't have enough, it can just eat itself, which sounds really weird, but it's true. You're more likely to feel tired, fatigued, this brain fog, less motivated, less work able, if that makes sense, because you're not fueling your body appropriately. And then same with hydration. If you're not drinking enough water or liquid and getting this into your system, it will slow your systems down. It slows your metabolism, it slows your heart, it causes more strain on it. And these are not just woo-woo things. This is facts. And if we aren't taking care of our nutrition, we're not taking care of our rest, we're not taking care of our ability to hydrate, and we're instead using a lot of products that are stimulants and also dehydrating, because like Red Bull is super dehydrating.
It gives you wings. I read on TV. I read on
You
TV.
read on TV?
Yes.
Wow. She's telepathic. I don't even think that's the right word. Random words with Britton and Taya. It gives you wings because it makes your heart palpate so fast.
Yeah.
But that caffeine.
You die and you go to hell or heaven.
Hell? Whoa! It gives you wings. Wait, I mean demons can have wings.
Yes, they can.
Well,
look at me.
We're learning things. Oh. But anyways, Red Bull gives you wings because it makes your heart rate go way up from the caffeine, which isn't good for it. It stresses your heart out when you have too much caffeine. And let's be real, those energy drinks that we're often drinking, like Monsters and stuff like that, those are really bad for us. And not because of the ingredients. It's like that level of caffeination is really bad for our systems because it puts so much strain on our hearts. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're seeing so many young people having heart attacks. Mm-hmm. And now we're getting off into a tangent, so I'm going to leave that. But more my point is that if you're not fueling your body, you're going to have bad rides. And you're going to have a less balanced approach to your riding, both mentally and physically. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to more likely to be cranky and be short with your own horse. And they're like, whoa, what's up, buddy? I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, basically treat yourself like the way you treat your horse.
Good.
Yes, we all treat our horses good. One last thing in the human department in the rider routines, especially for people who ride a lot or who've had injuries, been in car accidents,
have compensation in any type of way,
is maintaining your own structural soundness. And this means like going to the chiropractor, going to see the physiotherapist, getting regular massages. Just like our horses, we can walk and do things and start creating compensatory patterns in our physical bodies, and that affects how your horses move. So just making sure that you're upkeeping on your own physical and structural soundness, I feel is also a good way to take care of your horse. If you're crooked, your horse is going to be crooked. So just because you're not putting the money or putting the work into your horse, taking care of yourself is arguably just as important, if not more important, because a lot of horse soundness issues or horse imbalances are caused by crooked riders.
And with that, we're not saying that if you have compensatory patterns that there's something wrong with you. You could be doing as much physio as possible and it just never fixes itself. We're just saying that if that's the case, you know, we have to work on ourselves, but also then work on what our horse will need from us. And I'll use myself as an example. I have a paralyzed leg on my right side. And because of it, there is imbalances in my horse and in any horse I ride. And it's not because I want them to be there. And it's not something that I can fix, but it is something that I need to be aware of. So that way I can help them in other ways. So I'm going to more likely get body work onto the right and left side to make sure that those are going to be moving properly. I'm going to have to build up the right side a bit more. They might be even a little bit more sore on the right side from me accidentally keeping my leg on the whole time because I don't know where it is. Or on the left side, it will be really sore because I'm putting all my weight there and I don't realize it. And all the weight in my back is moving that way. So they're having a harder time turning to the right. Mm-hmm. You know, it's being aware of those things. And so being aware of our human structural soundness allows us to be aware of what's happening with our horse. And that creates better routines.
Okay. Back to the ponies. Because that's what y'all are here for. Let's be real. Let's talk about something that should be added to every ride, and that's proper warm-ups and proper cool downs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, body worker woman, you go.
So I could go off into a tangent here, but it's really something that I see often where people think a warm up, for example, is doing 2 laps around the arena at a walk, and then now we're going to canter and we're going to go hard and fast. And that's not how it works. That's the equivalent of me telling you, you've never ran this marathon before, but you did run a 5K once. So go. And yeah, you might be able to do it, but you're going to be really damn sore afterwards. And you're going to have muscle strains and stuff like that. And you're more likely to injure yourself and cause bodily harm. And it's the same thing that goes for a horse. If you're not giving them the proper time for their joints to lubricate, their muscles to start to stretch out with movement, you're more likely to cause strains, you're more likely to cause sprains, you're more likely to injure them, and they also are more likely to not want to do it because they're going to now associate every time I don't feel good after. So why would I want to do this? And you can see poor behavior or undesired behavior. And so it's really important that we are making the move in a multitude of directions. So, we're going to do a couple big circles. Now we're going to do a couple small circles at a walk. Then we're going to trot a little bit and then we're going to slow back down. This is going to give their body some time to warm up to what we're going to do and give them the best foundation to be able to do the lesson or the training or whatever you're doing in that moment. Because, like I said, they need time to lubricate those joints. They need time to get those muscle fibers stretching and flexing. And if you don't give them that time, it's just not fun. So warm-ups are so integral for making sure that their body's set up. And while we do talk about warm-ups, a lot of people forget about cool downs. Cool downs are really important, not just about the body, but also for their mental and their cardiovascular system. When you're doing a heavy workout, your heart rate goes up, your oxygen needs to be taken in faster, and all this, and it's going to be causing your systems to be used at a higher rate. And then if you just immediately stop, it's really hard on your heart, both for humans and horses. But you need to do a cool down to reset that mental state of like, okay, I'm ending my day. This was done, finishing off, but also to make sure that you're not adding extra strain onto those cardiovascular systems, the respiratory system, because you can't just abruptly stop your systems. You may be able to stop moving, but those systems keep pumping. And then all of a sudden it's like, I need to slow it down really fast. And your brain starts sending signals to slow it down fast. And that can cause a multitude of issues. So cooldowns are really important, not just for making sure that, they process things, but to make sure you're not causing problems that could lead to colic or ulcers and a multitude of health problems.
Mm-hmm. And with, both your warm ups and your cool downs, if you're like us and you're in Western Canada, a big chunk of the year, it's cold around these parts. And with fluctuating weather, she's cold around here. So cold that your eyelashes freeze together.
And your beard hair is white.
Yeah. But with weather fluctuation or colder temperatures, those longer warm-ups and those longer cool downs become even more integral because cold weather can cause tight muscles, it can cause harder footing, and generally in those time of years too, horses tend to have longer hair, which can cause more sweat.
Mm-hmm.
So in cold weather conditions, it's just important to remember those things and to tailor and allocate time in your ride to make sure that you're taking extra care of your horse.
We don't want to send them out into the cold when they're sweaty. That's
Yeah.
how they get cold.
Yeah. And let's say you did a really great session, your horse got real nice and gave a lot, they got really sweaty and did all these things for you. And let's say you don't do a cool down and you just turn your horse out naked and sweaty. all of that hard work you just did is kind of thrown out the window because your horse is now
Shivering.
wet and its muscles are going to get tight because it's going to get cold really quickly.
Yeah, they're just going to think of when we get cold, we bundle ourselves further into ourselves, so those muscles start to go smaller.
Mm-hmm. So it's just really important to consider the length of your warm up, and especially in cold weather, the length of your cool down and your routine as well. So
Yep.
oftentimes, if you don't blanket your horse, making sure that you have a cooler that will wick away the moisture or
Yep.
blow dry your horse. My family, we use a dog groomer blow dryer.
Where'd
Yeah.
you get that?
I don't know. Probably like Amazon or something.
Nice.
But it's like a dog groomer blow dryer and it blows air at like a crazy rate.
I
Like,
gotta invest in that.
yeah, it's like insane.
Because I always have to just wait for hours.
Yeah.
Where I have like the towel.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like you shorten your ride, you don't ride long. But in the case where you get your horse sweaty and you want them to cool down quick, well, making sure that you either sit around with them at the barn and let them wear a cooler for sometimes an hour, or invest in yourself a big blow dryer, even like a human hair dryer, just to wick away the moisture. Making sure that you're doing that to take care of your horse's body and just be responsible and consider that a part of your winter routine because you have to take care of your horse. Or some people shave their horses so that they don't sweat as much. Depends on what you do. Make sure you blanket your horse if you do shave them off.
Yeah, because that's taking all their winter insulation.
Yeah.
So you need to blanket then. There's times and places where we need to kind of adapt to whatever we're doing. And that's kind of what we're saying. Weather considerations are where you have to adapt those warm-ups. You have to adapt those cool downs and adapt to what your horse needs.
And prioritizing those in your routine. The other side of the coin, I mean, up north, we only get like 2 months of this, but sometimes it happens. Warm weather, especially heat. Making sure that your horse is hydrated, adding electrolytes to ensure that they're drinking, doing your rides either early in the morning when it's a little bit cooler or late at night, having some sort of cooling strategy. So cold hosing your horse and letting them sit in shade, those kind of things. Just making sure that the weather and the elements and whatever you're in, that you're still kind of taking your horse and keeping that as a consideration in your riding routine.
And especially when there's really, right now at this time, we have a lot of smoke, and if that's happening, you probably want to do shorter rides because it's going to impact their respiratory. And so being aware of whatever's going on in the environment around you is going to impact how you ride. And that's basically what we really want to get across, is that your warm-ups, your cool downs, your rides in general are going to look different depending on the season, depending on the weather and the environmental factors that are surrounding you.
Okay, well, let's talk about some more rider stuff and our role in our horse's soundness. We kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. One way to kind of help make sure that you're prepared and you're feeling ready to ride is if you know that you get tight in the back or you got tight glutes. It happens as horse riders. Making sure that maybe you stretch before you ride to make sure that you're feeling loose. Making sure that you do something, and it's going to be different for everybody, but making sure that you're consciously releasing tension in your body after and before your ride to avoid stiffness and injury in yourself and in your horse. Also, practicing your own body awareness in the saddle. Again, pet peeve. We are really quick to judge and blame performance on the horse. Like back to that lead example where, Pickles only picks up the right lead. I think a lot of that comes down to lack of body awareness in ourselves. So if you don't know where to start with your body awareness and you're noticing some issues, one of the best pieces of advice I've been given is if you don't have a coach around or you're riding by yourself and you're not sure, is to record yourself. Get footage of yourself riding and look it over. And again, just look at it objectively and see, okay, look at my back. She tight.
Yeah, don't do it in a way of like, look, I suck.
Yeah.
Or this is what I'm shitty at. Say, okay, oh, I realize that my leg's moving in this way, so I need to fix that.
Yeah.
Another way you can actually go about that, and I was just thinking about it as you said it, there's horse simulators where you can learn how your body's moving and see the pressure points of where your body's
I've never
going.
been on one.
I did. Like I kind of briefly mentioned, I have a paralyzed leg, and because of that, it's not always been that way. It came out of injury, and we can discuss that a little later. But because of that, it has really drastically affected not just my walking and my way of moving, but also how I ride. And it has drastically changed my seat because I can't feel a lot of things because I still have poor sensation in my glutes and in my kind of lower leg. But one of the ways I was trying to improve my riding and actually see objectively what's going on, especially in areas that I can't feel, without necessarily putting that strain on a horse, was I went and took these lessons essentially on a simulation horse. And
Hmm.
it's the size of a real horse. You have to get on, and it has these big sensors on it where it can see where your feet are, where your weight goes, and you ride, and it's like a little video game that you're riding with. And there's one here in Calgary that I went to, and I really liked it, and it wasn't actually overly expensive. It's the same as if you were going for a lesson, the cost, and investing that way. And they can even have a coach with you saying, hey, like, based on this, how do we switch this? And you can
Hmm.
use like exercise bands. I had that where it was trying to connect my leg to my other shoulder so that I could tell things based on my shoulder instead of my
Hmm.
leg. And um, when I could go, oh, if I move this way, I can feel it in my shoulder. So that's how I need to be. And that's how I need to place myself without subjecting a horse to me diddling around and figuring shit out.
Interesting.
So I was just thinking about that. It's like if you're
Yeah.
trying to work some like, cool down and warm ups and your own body awareness, that's a great tool and you can just look them up. And I think they're kind of not that they're mainstream, but there's probably one in any kind of main city that
Yeah.
you can find.
Yeah. Yeah. And a nice way to like, yeah, not piss off a horse and like get some facts,
Yeah.
right?
And biofeedback.
Yeah. Yeah, and stuff that's not like you can kind of completely take out the oh my horse is doing this. Like
Yeah,
you can just
it's
get
100% all on you.
yeah.
That simulator can't do shit.
Yeah, true. And again, like your self-care is your horse care. If you're unbalanced, if you're stiff or if you're weak in your core or whatever, your horse will compensate or it'll start to show up in your performance, right? So really important that we kind of recognize our role in our horse's soundness.
hmm So with that, we've kind of talked about like what we're doing wrong and where we're going wrong as both riders and what we're doing wrong for our horses sometimes. So I think it's still important that we talk about, self-love and acceptance of what we have and what we are. A horse, the horse we have is the horse we have. And it doesn't matter how many times we wish upon a star about, I wish he was this way. Unless we do the work, it's not going to change. And the same goes for us. We need to accept where we are right now and start our journey there, not where we want to be. We can set that as a goal, but we need to accept the bodies we have. We need to accept the horse we have and the situation we have. Because again, we can wish upon a star all we want. It's not going to change the fact that where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, comparison is the theft of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are constantly competing with other people unknowingly and being like, oh man, they're skinnier and they're lighter on their horse, or they have a better ability to do this, that, and the other, and I'm never going to get there. Well, you're never going to get there. Sometimes you just have to accept where you are and move forward from there. And you may never change, but you are just going to feel so much lighter when you stop giving yourself that comparison.
Yeah. Throw the comparison in the trash. Bye. And progress, I think we often, I mean, in horses too, we expect to see progress in like dramatic bouts. But the reality is, it's about small wins consistently over a long period of time. And so making sure that you're celebrating the little improvements. Maybe, okay, today instead of missing every single left lead that I tried to pick up, maybe I got one or two, and that was an improvement from my last ride.
Yep.
You know, looking at things from that perspective and trying to see the little improvements and focusing on that rather than where you want to be and that you're not there yet.
It's you appreciate it.
Yeah, it's important to kind of appreciate the journey and acknowledge the struggle, but don't let it deter you. And also, don't be afraid to acknowledge that even if you had like a 1% improvement today, that's still super important, right?
Also, just in general, not just about your riding, appreciate the body you have. It's a vessel of your soul.
YOLO.
And, you know, I know that I always wish that I could be 10, sometimes like 30 pounds lighter.
Oh, same girl.
And, you know, I need to be more patient with myself and appreciating the body I have because, you know what? Even if I am a little bit bigger than I used to be, I can still run. I can still move around. I can get up the stairs and move around. And those seem like such small things, but, you know, when your health does deteriorate, and I've been in those situations, you learn how important your body really is, and you need to appreciate what you have. And even if you're carrying a few extra pounds or you're not carrying enough pounds, because that goes the other way, we don't hear about it as much, but there is some where people are like, I just can't gain the weight. You know, it's okay. Accept where you are and just keep moving forward in a positive and self-reflective way that is beneficial to you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've given you so much information out of this and asked you to do these warm-ups and these cool downs and getting physical with your horse's fitness. But you might not know where to start. So we've created a digital product called Let's Get Physical, the fitness template sheet. And this is a customizable sheet that you can use to build a routine for you and your horse. And it gives you prompts on some warm up and cool down checklists and ways that you can do that you can kind of create your own variations from, but it gives you a starting point, as well as, you know, a journal prompt for self-love and tracking your progress. And you can find that in our tree. You can find it in our tree.
In a magic tree.
You can find it in our Magic Tree House. Remember those books?
The Magic Tree House?
Yeah. The A, B, C, D Magic Tree House?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck me. You can find those in our link tree and as well as our show notes. So you can get that if that's something that strikes your fancy. We just want to give you some tools for your toolbox.
Yay, toolbox. Okay, well, you survived another train ride with us. Congratulations. And before we say goodbye, we want to encourage you guys to share your own horse and rider routines on social media. So feel free to tag us at Uncinched. Also, if you enjoyed our Uncinched Confessions episode, we are in the works of creating another chaotic episode. And
when are they not chaotic?
Yeah, they're always chaotic. That's the best part about them. So if you want to tune in to that next episode or you want to be involved, check out our link tree and please submit your submission. And next Uncinched Confessions is about experiences that changed your perception. So this could be like
positive, negative, or anything in between. It can be a story, anything.
It could be a life hack. It could be a traumatizing situation. We want to hear it.
And we want to judge it. No, I'm just kidding.
So please get involved. We love to hear your stories. And we're super grateful for all of you. Once again, we want to thank our sponsor, GrabMain Photography. If you want to get some fabulous photos with your horse or you want to get those cool, trendy Western lifestyle photos, Brooke at Grab Main Photography is your gal. Once again, if you're looking for a 25% discount, remember to send in your promo code, and that is Uncinched2025 to receive 25% off your next photo shoot with Grab Main Photography. Once again, thank you so much for listening to the Unsinged podcast. We love and appreciate all of you who've been involved and who listen to us ramble, and we hope to see you next time on Unsinged.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.